So this is going to show you how to make the iris folding card. I'm going to shoot these in several different phases. But so first thing is picking out your design. There are hundreds of designs out there. Just type in iris folding and whatever kind of image you want. So this is the owl that we used at school, but there's angels and trees and hearts and stars and anything else you can possibly imagine. You'll want to make sure that it has the numbers, because that's what you're going to follow to place the paper as you go through this. So you'll see something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it'll skip because you're going to move to another section to add the paper. And then you kind of move around again based on the numbers. The first thing we did was identify what colors we wanted where. I ended up doing coloring in one and then using it as my model, and then doing the markings on the one that I used to actually create the card, because at times I couldn't see the color that I had placed in the strip. So you would basically, again, whatever you want to use. I used colored pencils or crayons. You could just mark in the spaces what colors you want to use there. So do that and I will get back to you. So now I have two images both colored in, and I didn't have the right colors to mark the owl with what colors I wanted to use, so I just wrote them on the side. And the next step now is to just cut out one of these to use as the template for when you're actually folding and putting the paper in place. So once, let's see, the next thing is you're picking out your paper and designing your card. You can do the standard just fold over, so you just have two sides, or you can do the special three-fold, which is really kind of fun for a card. And you just basically fold two sides over. Then you want to pick out your other piece of paper, which is going to become the base for the actual iris folding. Make sure that your image fits on there, and then the next step is you're going to want to trace around this and to cut it out. You are going to tape down the pieces of paper in the iris folding. So one of the next steps is just to cut a bunch of really small pieces of tape. You could probably use glue or glue dots. Glue, might be really easy to apply and use easily, either the glue stick or the bottle glue, or but then the problem is it might slide around as you're trying to put everything together. So we use tape, and but again, if someone wants to try it with glue, I think that it could also work really well. The next step is to cut your pieces of paper. Using a paper cutter would be a really great idea. That's what we did at the school. I don't have one at home, so I'm just using scissors. The idea is you want to make sure that you have pieces that are long enough to go across the whole piece. So if for instance, there's some really long pieces needed here, so this wouldn't work down in this space. But you can also, as you go along, you'll kind of see what you need. The idea, you want this piece to be a little bit bigger than just a small strip, because you're going to fold one side to make a really nice fold on it. I will do that and get back to you. So to make this, we used paper at the center, but I had a bunch of candy wrappers and I thought they'd be a great idea to use those instead. So I've cut them into strips, and these first ones at the top can be kind of small, so I cut the one strip in half and again just folded them. It's more of not a fold in half, more of in thirds, so you get one kind of really good fold on one side. Candy wrappers don't fold necessarily as well as paper, unless maybe you really worked with them or applied pressure or heat. Anyway, so you take this and you're going to follow down. So in my design, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 all in a row. So I'm going to tape 6 pieces of paper, or sorry, 6 candy wrappers down on the top side of the owl. So I've added my first 6 pieces, and as you can see, the fold is the part that goes towards the bottom. So as you're layering down, the folded edge is the edge that should be the bottom edge when you tape your pieces down. I'm definitely not a perfectionist, and so sometimes maybe a piece doesn't quite fit. It's not wide enough. I go ahead and tape it down and then just make sure that my next piece is a little wider, so you still end up attempting to reach the bottom line of the fold. So now for me, I'm decided that these next few ones are going to be a different color, so I'm going to change over to a different color now. And I just said I was changing to a different color, but it's not actually here because this is 1 through 6. I actually go down here now to the feet to 7, 8, 9, and 10. So my next color change is actually coming down here. After you've taped a section or two, you want to go ahead and look at the other side and just make sure you can't see any tape showing through. Sometimes I had tape showing up because I had it had come in over the edge and I didn't realize it. So just always just kind of look and make sure that the folds look like the way you want. You can kind of see this one's a little larger, but I'm okay with that. Down here is fine. Also, I can't remember if I told you, but it's a good idea to tape down your template. That way it doesn't move around when you take your the top off. You just kind of readjust it. So now I'm going to move on to my next one. So I've done, I did 1 through 6, 7, 8, 9, and I'm going to go ahead and change colors when I get to 10. But now I start, the numbers start moving around a little bit. So I'm doing 10 here, but 11's here, and 12, and then 13, 14, 15. So you kind of come in and make sure you're looking at what number is the next number, and you're going in the proper order based on the design you've chosen. So I'm going to go ahead and do another few rounds. So I've added a few more layers so you can see the different colors that are coming around, and as I flip it over you'll see how the different colors start to show up and are starting to layer upon each other. So I'm going to keep going. Again, just every time you add a few, just it's a good idea again to check the other side to make sure that tape isn't showing up and that you like the way that the folds are showing. It's not quite as easy to see on here as it is with solid paper, but maybe you want to adjust them. And again, the great thing with the tape is it's pretty easy to unstick the tape and move things around. Or if you realize that you haven't gotten quite aligned, go ahead and just add another strip and make it match up. It'll still look great. So keep folding the papers and placing them again based on the numbers until you finish and have your square in the middle. I like to place a piece of the same matching paper there. Sometimes people leave it open so that it ends up matching the paper that's you place it on. So when you flip it over, you have your beautiful design. And again, just kind of you want to maybe check and make sure you don't have any tape showing through, that you like the folds. The next step would be, if you're going to do the trifold, is you would just glue the piece down inside of there, and then we added a message at the top and did some decorations on the side with hole punches or whatever else you would like to do. So that is iris folding, and this is with candy wrappers.